I'm going to go over my Gap and Go trades and give you some price targets for Monday. Hi everyone, it's Dow on the Dow. I've got 13 tickers to go through. First up is Boeing. We ended the week at $200.83. To the north side from where we are takes us to resistance and a potential take profit area at 202.13. 3 standard deviations is 202.95. And at 4 standard deviations, that is 203.77. To the south side, this gap will close out at roughly $200.48, and that will take us back to the middle of the trend and support. Below that, another level of support and potential buy-in area, 198.93, 198.19, 197.37, and this gap closes to the downside at 196.98. There are many other gaps, but we are not in the zone, not in the channel, just something to be aware of. Next up, Nike. We ended the week at $105.63, up just a tick over 0.5%. This is where we are. To the north side takes us to resistance, 106.09. 107.12, 107.66, 108.18. To the south side, at support, 105.07, 104.56, and 104.03. Note this gap already closed out as well. And the gap that I am tracking to the north side takes us all the way to 122.40. Not in the channel, not in the zone, something to be aware of. We are in an upward channel. Uber, we ended the week at $78.20. The middle of the trend, and another level of support takes us to 78.77, 79.89, 80.48. A gap begins at 80.89, closes out at 81.26. I do not expect this to close out on Monday, but we are in an upward channel. It'll take a few days probably to close that out if we continue upward. 77.59 is one level of support, 77.04, and this gap closes out at 76.57, 76.44 at -4 standard deviations, and many levels in between here as well. I'm just giving you some levels. Make sure you check the daily, the weekly, and the monthly to also give you price targets and different gaps. Everything changes depending upon what time frame you are taking a look at this. I'm showing you price action on the 5-minute time frame. 75.96 is where we ended for BABA. Middle of the trend and the baseline, 76.89. Note this gap here that takes us to 77.69, and then this one, and then this one. So at 2 standard deviations, that will take us to resistance and a potential take profit area at 78.47. 2 standard deviations will take out all of this. I am in this trade, $79.25, $80. To the south side, $75.35, $74.58. A gap begins at $74.10, $73.76, and $73.15 is where this closes out. And as you can tell, I'm keeping track of many other gaps to the south side. We are not in that channel, not in that zone down there. We are in an upward channel right now, thank goodness. So hopefully we can continue to keep slowly climbing up. Here we're basing right here, consolidating. SLB, 48.82, down 0.89% to the north side. 49.02, a gap begins at 49.05, and then this one opened up at 49.07, closes out at 49.25 roughly. 49.59, 49.87, 50.16. We are at the middle of the trend. I do not anticipate price touching this, and if it does, you better get out if you're just day trading or trying to make some quick money and scalping, because it will not stay up there. I will not hold my breath. To the south side, 48.46, 48.17, and 47.89. Altria Group, 41.13 is where we ended. This gap takes us to 41.35, 41.44, 41.60. We could get to 41.78, but I do not expect it. I never expect us to get to 4 standard deviations if we're here. And definitely if we're here, we're not going to get up to that level in one day. We will not be going to the moon with Altria Group. 42.40, that gap closes out. Looking for gaps to the south side, but that's it. EXC ended the week at 36.13. This gap forms to the north side at, where are we? 36.43, closes out at 36.62. And then this, well, let's start right here, 37.11. This gap forms right here at roughly 37.46. 37.79 closes out at 37.89. To the south side, because there is always a south side, 35.77. Just when you think it can't go any lower, it will. You got to zoom out and take a look at the bigger picture, and you will see gaps that you never saw when you are looking at the 1 minute or the 3 minute or possibly the 5. Okay, this is to the south side here, starting at 35.51 roughly, 35.43, 35.10, and 34.75. Pfizer. As you know, I will not ever get a COVID shot. They're ramming this COVID shot, these commercials down our throats, but I will trade this stock all day long, but you cannot pay me enough money to take a shot. I will not get the jab. Okay, that's my PSA for the day. The middle of the trend, 27.76, 28.13, 28.33, 28.53. And then we've got a gap that will fill at 30.35, not in the channel, not in the zone, something to be aware of should we continue to slowly grind up. Okay, this gap takes us down to 27.58, 27.36, 27.23, 27.16, 27.12, 26.97. PCG, $17.03 is where we ended, up 2.28%. To the north side, 17.10, 17.23, 17.35, and then where was the other gap? Oh, wait, is that right? Oh, wait, we did close it out. We closed it out. That means I have to give you another ticker to trade, because I like to switch out, and I did my gap recap and I wasn't paying attention. And we closed out right here because this was the gap I was tracking. And this, whoops, this one, let me just take a look at this on the 15. Yeah, that's it. 1901 is a previous price target. Now it's changed to 1936. Yay! And you know what? I'm going to put Apple in as my gap and go for this week. So if you have not used this and you don't know how to do this, to add it in, you hit this plus sign, AAPL. Yep, Apple just populated. And I will track that in just a second. But PCG, this one closed out and this one closed out, so I can X this one out. Pfizer, I just did. Rivian. Well, actually, why don't I do Apple? That way I can finish out these more expensive ones. I'm in this trade. I've been in it for forever. And 182.52 is where we ended, down 1%. The 1 year price target, just for giggles, is 199.86. This is where we are. To the middle of the trend takes us to 183.83, 185.57. This gap begins at 186.22. And 186.40, 186.89, and 187.23. And to the south side, let me look something up very quickly on my phone here. Just a minute here. Oh, I can't see it. Where is it on my computer? I mean, not my computer, I'm sorry, on my... Held for review, published. Here we go. Okay. Trader Marat says, regarding Apple, it looks like a triangle on the daily chart, which is bullish short term. So he plays patterns, and I really do not play patterns. The only pattern I look at is the W. I can't see cup and handles. I know everybody does, but it does not come to me. I can't trade that way. I don't see it. When other people point it out, then I can see it. So he says, let's see if this will play out tomorrow on Monday. If yes, it can touch 186 in a few days. And we are in an upward channel. Check the RSI as well. And we are at support, so I will anticipate a bounce to the upside. So this again takes us up to 187.25 and 182.16 to the south side at support, 181.26, 180.44. And I do not see any gaps, but I know on the 5 minute, you got to take a look at this in the bigger picture. I'll show you the daily just for giggles. Okay, there we go. I'm heavily invested in this stock. 164.19 down here, 160.35. So if you feel like you've lost an opportunity to get in, nope. This is what happens with Apple. It giveth and it taketh. At 145.94 and then 96.17. Please do not get down there. I don't think we will. I mean, I will load the boat if we do. Apple has been very good to me overall. All right, so on the daily, which is not the purpose of this video, but since I'm here, I'm going to show you what the target is to the upside. And that will be at the middle of the trend, 199 roughly. And what does that take us? Look at that, 199.86, the 1 year price target. I don't need to be an analyst. I just read the charts and I can see it and know that that's the potential. And I don't like to listen to the hype. I just look at the charts. So to the south side though, because there's always a south side right there at -2, which is where I anticipate price to go all day long, 177.89. And then at 2, that will take us back to 220. And that's all I'm going to say for Apple. But right now, I do see a bounce. See, look what happens when you flip this to the different time frames. TradingView gets wonky on you. Wonky, I tell you. Drives me batty. Here, let me move this closer. And then back to the 5. There we go. And then look, it made this go to a different thing. A different candle. 182.52. Let me fix that. There we go. All right. Exelon I just did, and Pfizer, my rant about Pfizer. Rivian, here we go. I've talked about this one many times, and unfortunately we are still in a downward channel. 1007 down 12%. When you get to resistance, you got to sell out. If you're just doing this as a day trade or scalping, because this thing will spit you out. Okay, to the north side. Resistance, 1121. This gap at 3 standard deviations, roughly 1221, 1301, and then 1533. We are not going to close out this gap on Monday, but maybe if we start to turn around, we could possibly at the end of the week, if we continue to base and go sideways and then maybe go up. But this is support where I anticipate a bounce. Okay, this is at 931, 748, 652, and 559. I'm a buyer down here. I'm not a buyer at the middle of the trend. And then this other gap will take us eventually to 1778. I think I saw somebody on YouTube say that would get down to like $5. That scared me. I didn't like that. And fingers crossed we don't get that low. SoFi. I'm in this trade for myself and for my mom. 817, up barely nothing. To the north side, resistance, 832, another level of resistance, 835, 840, 847, and 851. To the south side, this gap begins. It's already touched a couple times. This closes out right at -2 at 802. Let's see. 794, 787. And then we've got other gaps up here, which I will not talk about because we're not even close, not even in the zone, not in the channel. Finally, NEO. 540 down more than 7%, 7.69. Resistance, 754. This gap begins 568 at resistance, another level of resistance, 573, 583, 586, and 599. All these gaps have closed to the downside. Look at this. We're still going down. This thing is bleeding us out. I'm in this trade, unfortunately. 520, 508, 498, 495, and 470. And I think that's it. All right, that's a look at my gap and go trades for the week of February 25th through March 1st. I will revisit these tickers at the end of the week and see if these gaps closed to the upside or to the downside, and if any new gaps developed within this week. Have a great trading week, everyone.